Hey guys, how's it going? It's Blepner here with another team review, and today we're going to be looking at a team featuring my brand new Great League Giratina Origin. Giratina Origin is such a fun Pokemon to use. Uh, Being resistant to the three elemental typings of water, grass, and fire, and also electric, makes it a huge threat in the Great League, where elemental typings and electric typing is a little more common compared to the Ultra League or the Master League. The dragon typing in general, I think, on Giratina makes it very scary to deal with. And I was talking about this on stream actually with my viewers, but I think that Giratina Origin is the only Pokemon in Pokemon Go that actually is super meta with a triple ghost type moveset. A triple mono type moveset, I should say. It has only ghost type moves with Shadow Claw as the fast move, and Shadow Ball and Shadow and Ominous Wind as the charge moves. And I can't really think of another Pokemon that has only one typing for both fast and both charge moves that does as well in a meta as Giratina Origin does. And I think that it's because of that dragon defensive typing really makes it a threat. I think that maybe once the Great League adjusts to the threat of Giratina Origin, it might not do quite as well. But as of right now, this league is not prepared. So let's see how Giratina Origin does in action. So first off, we have Toxapex into Arctibax, and this is a good lead because the Arctibax will only hit for resisted damage with Icy Wind if it wants to go for Icy Wind. And Dragon Claw is not a very good move. They decide to go for Icy Wind, and that's really good for me because now we can just go for a Sludge Wave, and 2 more Poison Jabs will take him out. So, this is a very good matchup for Toxapex. A lot of matchups are good for Toxapex in the neutral situation. And then they switch into Annihilate. We immediately switch into our own Annihilate, which is a questionable decision. This was my very first battle with this team, so I was still learning how to play this team. But here we actually shield up the Shadow Ball correctly, which is really good for us. And then we bait, and we're hoping that we get a shield in return, but they actually no shield. And that is not great for us, but luckily we get to this Shadow Ball right before they get to their own Shadow Ball. And that takes them out. So they have a Skeledirge in the back, and unfortunately we do throw here because we just wanted to throw before they get to the Disarming Voice. Luckily they shield, and that is really good. I'm assuming they probably didn't count my counters. They probably thought that was a Shadow Ball, but even a Night Slash would have done a good amount of damage. And then they're forced to no-shield this Brine, so this Brine does a little bit more damage than a Night Slash would do. And at this point, we should be able to just Shadow Claw it down. So this is just showing the strength of the Giratina Origin, being able to resist the Fire-type moves while dealing super effective damage with the Shadow Claws. And yeah, we can just shield up that Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball would have probably taken us out, honestly. Giratina Origin is not the tankiest Pokemon by any means, but it's got a fair amount of bulk to it. It feels like a little bulkier than you would expect from a powerful Master League Pokemon in the Great League. But here we have a Dugong on the lead, and Dugong is actually good for us on the lead because these drill runs actually don't do even like 40% of our health. They're going to need basically 2 drill runs and an Icy Wind to take us out. And we should take them out with a Sludge Wave plus Poison Jabs. We do actually switch here. So that's a questionable choice because we're not going to have a good time versus Dugong with the Giratina in the back. But we do bait out the Charge Bug. And even though this Shadow Ball is resisted, This is just going to be so much neutral damage versus the Charge Bug. They let that go, and as you can see, that is resisted damage. And that did like almost 70% of their health, which is quite impressive. We throw the Night Slash here. The Night Slash gets them quite low. And then they're going to throw an X-Scissor. And the X-Scissor doesn't take us out, but that's actually better for them because they get another Volt Switch. And I don't get quite as much of a farm down here. So definitely, I basically shouldn't have thrown those counters versus the Charge Bug because I could have gotten 2 more Shadow Claws if I didn't throw the counter. Here, we've got the Dugong, and we're going to actually catch the Icy Wind. We've been counting, right? We're going to catch here because this is right when they get there. And because they throw immediately, we know this is the Icy Wind. There's no way they're going to draw run here, right? So we don't take that much damage from it. They have a Whiscash in the back, but we have 2 shields. So even though we're debuffed and this is a very bad matchup, we're still okay because of the fact that Giratina Origin just does so much damage with Shadow Ball plus Shadow Claw in the back. Even if they get the debuff here on the Scald, we will just be able to throw a Shadow Ball and then Shadow Claw down. So this is a good game. They throw a Mud Bomb, which is good for us because they can't get a debuff. And this will easily take them out. And then the Dugong will not survive this Ominous Wind here. And that is a good game. So really impressive sweep by the Giratina Origin there. Next up we have Toxapex into Azumarill. This is the best matchup we can see. And we saw a lot of fairies to the lead, I feel like. And Tentacruel is not a problem either. Realistically, we should have switched into either our Giratina or our Annihilate here versus the Tentacruel. But this isn't too bad because they throw so quickly. We are just going to be able to switch into our Giratina here. If they had farmed up a little bit more, it would have been kind of an issue. But we should just take them out here. Yeah, we take them out. And they come into their Azumarill again. The reason why I went into the Giratina versus their safe swap of Tentacruel instead of the Annihilate is because Giratina Origin has a great matchup versus Azumarill. It does a lot of damage with these Shadow Claws and Shadow Balls, and obviously the Bubbles resisted. They do get taken out by basically a single Ice Beam plus the Bubbles, but still, that's just a huge amount of damage that it can deal with the combination of the Shadow Claws and the Shadow Ball. And there you see they had a Dragonair in the back. So it was really good that I went into the Giratina, into the Tentacruel instead of the Annihilate because the Giratina would have a very hard time versus the Dragonair. But here we have a very challenging lead. Annihilate lead basically beats us because Brian is such a bad move. And they switch into Lickitung, which is really good for us, actually. They do, unfortunately, absorb a Brine, which is not ideal. But we should be able to just throw one Night Slash here and then farm them all the way down. So we throw the Night Slash. We're going to farm them down. They're going to throw a Grass Knot and get us kind of low here. But they definitely can't take us out. So we're going to farm them down here. And then they come back in with... Oh, they come in with Skeledirge. And so this is actually where I actually lose this match here. I could have gone for the Shadow Ball. Realistically, I would have always gotten to that Shadow Ball. So, unfortunately, I don't force a shield because they knew that was going to be a Night Slash. They knew they didn't have to shield there. And then we do shield versus Disarming Voice. I probably could have no-shielded that and won this game. But this is suddenly not a very good situation for me. And so this is painful because this was my first loss with this team, and this was definitely a game that I could have won. They're going to throw the ice punch here, and that does take me out. I was hoping that that wouldn't quite take me out so I could throw my move. But we're going to throw the ominous wind. They do shield, which is okay. But I think that we lose this game at this point. We do shield up an ice punch. We should have no shielded that bait because they're just going to get to a shadow ball here. So at the end of the day, it did kind of come down to a baiting situation where I think that if we had no shielded the ice punch bait, we would have won that match. But that is okay. That was our first loss, and we didn't have a whole lot of losses, so it was a learning experience. Definitely made a lot of mistakes in that game, but here we have a Dragonair in the lead, and the Dragon type leads, which you will see a lot of in this meta, certainly, and I expect in the Open Great League meta as well, they don't do so well versus the Toxapex, because Toxapex has such good fast move damage and charge move damage. That's absolute carnage. So definitely in a good situation here. We do save swap, and they don't go up to the Shadow Ball. They go into the Surf, and this is really good. If they had gone up to the Shadow Ball, we would have had to shield. But because they only went for a Surf, we definitely do not have to shield. And going straight Night Slash, we should beat them in the one shield scenario. We actually get a boost, and that is huge. This is amazing for us. They do double shield. So at this point, this game should be basically won because the Giratina is going to have a great time versus pretty much anything in the back except for like maybe a normal type, obviously, because it only has ghost type moves. If they had a normal type in the back, it would be tough, but they don't even go for the Shadow Ball once again. Maybe they were single moved. But because they didn't go for the Shadow Ball, we are able to no-shield that. And then they just give up the game. So next up, we have a Cresselia in the lead. And we are just praying to God that they do not have Future Sight. Because if they have Future Sight, then this would be a pretty negative matchup for us. So we got to see. This is more than enough for Future Sight. They reach Future Sight at 8. But they throw a Grass Knot. And that is really good for us, because it's very unlikely that they would bait here. And if they only have Grass Knot and Moonblast, then this is a very positive matchup for us. So let's see what they decide to throw here. They throw another Grass Knot, so that confirms that this is definitely this Cresselia definitely does not have Future Sight. Throw another Grass Knot. That is fine because we go into Annihilate. And we do get to the Night Slash before they get to a Grass Knot. So we could have probably tried to tie to a Grass Knot, throw on the Charge Move Priority and tie, but instead we decide to just throw before they get to the Night Slash. And we should be one turn ahead of this opposing Annihilate. Sure enough, we do get to the move first. We throw the Shadow Ball, and they do shield, respecting the Shadow Ball, which is the correct play, of course. But then we no-shield, and they do throw the Night Slash. So the reason why we no-shielded there was because we have a shield advantage, and we wanted to keep the shield advantage. So that could be kind of a lesson to other players out there, is that if your opponent has a shield advantage, it's likely that they're going to no-shield in order to maintain that shield advantage in a situation like that versus the Annihilate. But here they, of course, bait with the Night Slash, and they honestly would do more than half my health with the Night Slash, so may as well shield up the Night Slash anyway. The Ominous Wind does, of course, take them out. They have a Whiscash in the back. Of course, there's so many Whiscashes in the back, but we should be okay here. We should be able to shield up one Mud Bomb and then just take them out with Shadow Claws, plus counters and Poison Jabs if necessary. They throw the Scald, and that's better for us because the Scald is more expensive. So that was definitely not a situation that they could win. But yeah, moving on to the next game, we have Dusclops in the lead, and this is a terrible lead for us because the Annihilate does not want to see the Dusclops, and the Toxapex doesn't want to see the Dusclops. Honestly, the Giratina doesn't have a great matchup versus Dusclops either. So the best thing that we can do here is soft lose this matchup. And when I say soft lose, I mean that we're going to lose, but we're going to put the opponent at a range of health where we should be able to farm them down with our secondary Pokemon and get a good energy advantage there. So what we're hoping is that they don't necessarily have a shadow type answer in the back. They throw the Poltergeist here. And here we're going to get a really juicy farm down, actually. That is a great farm down with Shadow Claws, with the Giratina. And so that's what a soft loss is, right? Is even though we lost the lead, we are in a pretty good spot here versus the Whiscash. These Shadow Balls are going to do so much. And they let it go. Boom! That's a lot of damage versus a very bulky Whiscash. And that actually puts them into range where we should be able to Ominous Wind them to take them out after all these Shadow Claws. They do Scald us, which is amazing, and they don't get the debuff, which is even better for us. We actually have to catch this Mud Bomb. We don't want to take a Mud Bomb onto Giratina Origin, so this is not a great situation. Maybe it would have been better if we hadn't thrown our move so that we could have farmed up more energy with the Giratina. But it's okay. We should be fine here. The Skeledirge will no-shield, though. They do shield. Okay, so if they no-shielded the Night Slash, then I think that we could have lost that. But because we get a shield, these boosted counters actually do a lot to help us out. We should be able to just Shadow Claw this down. And in general, I think that this was something that I saw a lot, is that the fast move pressure of Shadow Claw on a lot of the Pokemon in this meta really helped us out. So we are going to Shadow Claw down, and that is a good game. So next up, we have Toxapex into Skeledirge, and this is a good matchup for us. We do lose this in the zero shield situation, but we win it in the 1-2 shields. And we probably will switch out at some point, because if we set this up correctly, we should be able to win CMP with a Night Slash with Annihilate here. They do let go the Brine, which is good for us because, as you can see here, they are far lower than we are in health. And we let go of the Shadow Ball. And the reason why, once again, we're soft losing here, because we get this 4 Shadow Claw farm down. And they have, the best answer is a Frostlass. So at the very least, this is double Ghost. And it's an ABA Ghost team, which is incredibly interesting because they're very weak to Ghost types that have a Ghost type fast move like the Giratina Origin, right? But we just go into our Annihilate here. The reason why is because I recognize that they're in Night Slash range for my Annihilate, and so they can throw their Avalanche here. That's fine. It's a little better that they have Avalanche instead of Triple Axle, but we're definitely going to just keep shielding up these Avalanches, and we could have farmed up a little bit more here, actually, but this Night Slash will be more than enough to take them out. And then we should just win versus their opposing Annihilate. This is a situation I saw a lot. And this is a good tip for all of you out there, is that if a lot of the time, the opponent will have an Annihilate in the back. And so you need to get an energy advantage with your own Annihilate in that situation. If I hadn't gotten an energy advantage, then their Annihilate could have outpaced me to a move there. But here... we've got Toxapex into Charge Bug. This is not a bad matchup by any stretch of the imagination, because Sludge Wave does so much. They do shield, and just like that, we have a shield advantage. And with a shield advantage, this is not a bad matchup for Annihilate. Obviously, it would be better if we could bait and get their second shield here. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball. Let's see how this does. And that does get shielded. So we do still have a shield advantage. But if we had thrown the Night Slash there, then we would have gotten to a Shadow Ball here and had a lot more energy. So they switch into Dugong, and that's perfectly fine because I should get to a Shadow Ball before they get to a move here. And I get the attack boost. So actually, no, it doesn't look like I would get to a Shadow Ball, but because of the attack boost, this is actually better than if I had just gone for the Shadow Ball. And that's a lot of damage. We go into the Toxapex to absorb the Dugong's damage. And I have full confidence in my Giratina Origin here. I'm thinking that they probably don't have a strong answer to it. So I'm going to go into the Giratina. I'm going to farm down. I get this Shadow Claw of energy. If they have a normal type, then I'm in trouble. Or dark type, but they have a Poliwrath, and we should just win this match. Once again, getting that one Shadow Claw of energy versus the Dugong was really helpful here because we would have already outpaced the Poliwrath, but at this point, we outpaced the Poliwrath by such a large margin that they will not win this game. And that is a good game. We just snipe with the Annihilate. They have the Charge Bug in the back. But you're going to see they throw the X-Scissor here. And we've been in this situation before. This is definitely deja vu here. Because, as we saw before, the X-Scissor does not kill. That is one of the reasons why Annihilate has such a good matchup versus Charge Bug. It's because it double resists those X-Scissors. And you'll often find yourself in situations where you can either call an X-Scissor bait, or you can catch an X-Scissor on your Annihilate. And here we have Toxapex into Annihilate. So as I said before, this is not a great matchup because Shadow Ball is such a better move than Brine. And because Counter is a slightly better move than Poison Jab. But we can still soft lose this matchup. Just like I've been talking before, soft losing is the way to go because we can get this Annihilate very low. They do switch into the Charge Bug, and we throw our move. This is not a smart choice by me. Probably I didn't even see that they switched in, honestly. Because if I saw that they switched in, I would have just switched into Giratina immediately. Because Giratina has such a positive matchup versus this Bug and Electric type. It would fully counter the Bug Electric type. But here, this is actually looking really bad because the Toxapex has been brought so low by the opponent's Annihilate. If we just had saved that energy in Toxapex and not thrown the Brine versus the Charger Bug, then this would be a much better situation. But here, this is actually not favoring us at all. We have to let this go. I'm thinking that this won't kill the Toxapex, and I'm correct. It doesn't quite kill, and that is huge, honestly, because we suddenly have a good amount of health left on Toxapex to possibly Poison Jab down this Annihilate. But here I'm going for the Night Slash, and this is not quite making sense. I don't go for it immediately. I should have gone for a Night Slash immediately and tried to go for a boost. This is getting so close. It's actually insane. I'm going for the Night Slashes, and I get there just in the nick of time. You can see that I was at like 2 health there. So it would have been a closer situation if I had gone for the counters and not gone for the Night Slashes. I think I might have won there because I could have Poison Jab down the opponent, but it's hard to say. It's very hard to say. Regardless, that is the end of my battles for today. So if you guys want to see me use this team live, see me use any team that you want me to use live, then please follow the link down below to my Twitch. I stream every single day in the morning, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I would love to have you there. So let me know what you thought of these battles. Let me know if you've gotten a Giratina Origin yet, or if you're still trying to get one. Let me know how everything's going in the comments down below. Thank you so much. I'll see you all next time.